Yeah, there is. I mean, I come from the heavy rock sort of background, you know, the noisy stuff, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Quo, and since I came back from London, I've been writing my own music in that sort of style of my heroes type of thing. But I wanted to try and get away from that, but I didn't quite know which direction I was going to go. And for this album, I've probably written about 60 odd songs, recorded 60 odd songs, and I won't be using any of those 60 odd songs because I went off in another musical style, which is more bluegrass, country music, bluesy, gospel-y. There's a heavy gospel sort of influence on it. We've got you know, lots of gospel singers, gospel choirs, banjos, you know, acoustic guitars. I mean, there is some fast-paced music on there as well, but it's all a complete change to, you know, the usual noise. Well, ever since I was a kid, I've always liked all sorts of music, but I've always liked some country music as well. I mean, we mentioned earlier one of my influences was Status Quo. Well, they had a song called Wild Side of Life, and that was originally a song by a guy called Hank Williams, who was like, I think he was in the 1930s, 1940s, but that was country music. And obviously Quo came along and they quoted it up a bit, but it's basically a country song. And it's still one of my favourite songs. I've always liked gospel music. I find if gospel music is done right, it's really good and uplifting. It doesn't hit you as gospel music, it just hits you as something like, wow, that's great, that is really good. Even when a country song or a blues song, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I like some opera. I'm not a big opera fan, but if I hear something that catches my ears, then I listen to it. You know, I don't want to lock myself out of listening to good music just because it could be a pop song, Pet Shop Boys, you know, but they get some songs that are really catchy. Shania Twain, again, I'm not a Shania Twain fan, I'm not a Pet Shop Boys fan, but every now and again somebody comes along and does a song that catches my ear and I like it. I mean, Rick Astley's got a song out now, I heard it on the radio the other day, new song, that's kind of gospel-y, and I didn't know it was Rick Astley when I was listening to it. I didn't know who it was on the radio, and I listened to it and I thought, he was in the background, I was playing with Dylan, doing something with him, and I could hear it, and I came to the kitchen to turn the radio, I thought, this sounds good, and then, who was it? It was Ken Bruce, the DJ, he said, well, that was from Rick Astley. I nearly fell on the floor. I thought, Rick Astley, you know, how can I like something by Rick Astley? But, you know, I hope he's not watching this interview, like, but yeah, so all sorts of music I just like, so, you know. This album will be my 5th album. Yeah, there's going to be a new video produced locally by the guys down in Larne, Tin Shed. They're going to put the video together for me once the album is done. Once I've chosen the single to come off it, which I'm virtually 99% sure which one that is now. So yeah, there's a day's filming there, a day or two's filming, so that I'm looking forward to doing that actually. It's been a couple of years since I did a video, like, so yeah, good. Sometime this year. All the music's done for it now. It's just a case of putting my vocals on top of it and then mixing it. But vocally, I'm trying to sing differently to what I've done before, obviously because the music is totally different. You know, and it's got to be. I want it to be better than I've ever done before. Even though I'm quite pleased with what I've done, you always want better, don't you? Better, bigger. You know, you always want more. So, you know, we've invested money in new technology for the recording, so hopefully that'll shine through as well. So. That came about with me having an idea in my head of writing a story, initially just writing it down on paper and then wondering what to do with it, you know, and I thought, well, I've got the equipment here. I can actually make that into an audiobook, because audiobooks are quite selling quite well. So that's kind of what I decided to do, and I got a chap who sounds really Welsh to narrate it for me. Like, I don't sound really Welsh, even though I am Welsh. I don't sound really Welsh. And the guy's name was Andy Edwards, and he speaks in that really classic sort of Welsh accent, and Andy narrated it for me, and it's gone on to do well. We're at the moment with it where I got a business partner in Swansea called Sam, and we're rewriting the whole thing for television. So it's a complete rewrite, because the thing with an audiobook, it's written so that you actually listen to it, but when you put something on a screen, it's a visual thing, and it's different. So we're rewriting that, and that's practically done now. And then it'll be chasing people for funding to turn it into a mini series. So that's where we are with that at the moment. Where'd you hear that from then? Who told you that? Yeah, it's true. I've got ideas for children's books. Not quite as scary as the audiobook, but it's something I can't get my head down to at the moment until Dylan is in full-time school, and that'll free up my time. Because at the moment I've only got about an hour and a half each day to actually work. But it's amazing what you can do in an hour and a half when you have to. You focus. But once Dylan's in full-time school, then that'll be so good. That's a good question, and I don't really know if I've got the right answer to give you for that. It's very difficult. I mean, Dylan, he's 3.5 years old. He goes to school every morning, but I have about an hour, like I said, an hour and a half break. I have to get back there, pick him up, and then it's looking after Dylan for the rest of the day until Dylan crashes out and goes to sleep. And then you get up the next day and you do it all again, and it just rolls on. But thankfully I do get that hour and a half where I can be creative, and in that hour and a half I already know what it is I need to do, because I've already planned it in my head, whereas before I'd go in all day, muck about, experiment. At the moment I don't have the luxury of that, and things are working, I feel, better because I'm more focused on that. I know what I'm doing when I go into the studio, I know how much time I've got, and I know exactly what I want to do in that amount of time. So with regards to Shirley's work, I mean, she's working now, training to go and work in the church as a vicar. I never thought I'd be sleeping with a vicar, I've got to say that. But I tell that to everybody. But it's something that she's born to do. She's a natural at it. And anybody that can be married to me for this amount of time has to be, you know, very good.